This is a PodCo original.
All of us here at Full House Rewind love when you follow us, so we made you a little follow button. It's right there. Go ahead, just press it and follow us. Thank you.
I was so upset because I loved it there that on the drive home after the tape, I cried in my mom's van. And
I got to hear about Jurassic Park. What was that like? What was your experience like?
Steven, for the 2 days I was there, was kind of everything you want him to be.
Right.
He's so normal. Laura Dern was amazing. She was asking, what are you listening to on your Discman? And I was like,
Discman.
Yeah, and I was like, I was 14, so I was too cool.
Do people still recognize you from the show?
Which is bizarre.
Yeah, it's a long time.
No, I'm, if Frodo became a pirate now, I don't look the same.
Welcome to episode 21 of Full House Rewind. I'm your host, Dave Coulier, and our guest today is none other than Whit Hertford. He's gone on to be a voiceover actor, writer, director, and producer, but you may know him as the character Walter on Full House. Here's a pic of Whit when Full House was on the air. Wow, look at that. Please welcome Whit Hertford. Listen to the applause. The thousands of people here in the Full House Rewind Theater. It's jam-packed today. How are you?
I'm good.
I haven't seen you, I don't think, since Full House.
Do you want numbers? That's 35 years.
That's 35 years since I've seen you.
I did the math.
And it's so great to see you.
It's good to see you. It's surreal.
Is it surreal?
Yes. I feel like I'm in a fever dream.
I have so many questions for you, and I want to catch up with you. And I'm so happy that you're here. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about episode number 21, also known as Mad Money. And episode 21 was directed by our show's creator, Jeff Franklin, who you know. And it first aired on, you want to talk about a long time, first aired on ABC April 29th, 1988. So, Whit, give us the rundown of what's happening in this episode, would you?
Jesse succeeds when he secretly plans an Elvis Presley tribute at a nightclub. Meanwhile, Joey attempts to pay back money that Danny lent him 11 years ago.
Oh, boy, if that doesn't pull you in. Right there, just the description. If that doesn't pull you into this episode 21 of Full House. Now, we're going to describe what's happening in this episode together. I'm going to start us off, okay?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Episode 21 opens in the living room with Danny and DJ on the couch listening to Stephanie practicing her show and tell for school. She presents Michelle as her subject.
The family quizzes Jesse about where he's been sneaking off to. Joey enters and declares that his mom found a savings bond and he now has $5,000. Whoa. Joey gives presents to everyone, including a toy lawnmower for Michelle, Springsteen tickets for DJ, and a new bike for Steph.
Wow. That's good stuff.
That's good stuff.
Springsteen tickets. Now, back in the living room, DJ entices Michelle with a cookie to discover something hidden in Jesse's duffel bag. Joey hands out more gifts to Danny and Jesse. Danny reminds Joey that he lent him $800 11 years ago.
Uh-oh. Danny and the girls go upstairs and discover that Jesse is dressed like Elvis. Jesse tells them that he's been doing an Elvis tribute at a local club for the past week.
Well, later that night, the family goes to see Jesse perform his Elvis tribute at the club. Jesse launches into a medley of Elvis songs, and of course, the crowd goes wild.
And then the family arrives back at the house with DJ and Steph doing Elvis impressions. Joey tries to pay Danny back the money he borrowed by handing him a big ball of cash. And Jesse enters and is accompanied by the Marilyn Monroe impersonator from the Elvis tribute show.
Of course. Jesse always gets the girl, for crying out loud. Then in the kitchen, Danny shows Jesse how to properly make a sandwich. Joey, doing a Pee Wee Herman impression, runs downstairs while Danny gives chase. Jesse enters and the guys convince him to continue the Elvis tribute show. He exits and the show ends with Danny and Joey discussing the great friendship they've had since they were kids. And Joey finally pays back the money he borrowed from Danny. Hi there. I want to tell you about Care Of. Care Of is a health and wellness company. They ship personalized vitamins and supplements right to your door every month. Now, I'm a simple guy and I try to listen to my body. And my body was telling me that I was tired. It sounded like this: Dave, I'm tired. And who the heck wants to hear that voice all the time? So my first shipment is here, okay, right? And I can't wait to get going. It's these little packets. Look, it even says "Hi Dave" on there. So let's do it together. What do you say? So for 50% off your first Care Of subscription order, go to takecareof.com and enter code FULLHOUSE50. Anything come to mind as we recap that episode, Whit?
About the actual episode?
Yeah.
I mean,
Just jump in.
I think it's a really good little lesson about debts and being, honest. And I felt really called out when I revisited it.
Lending your friends money for 11 years.
Yeah,
Then they
We've
finally
all
decide
done
to pay you back. By the way, here's that $800 I owe you a decade later. Man, I have not seen you since Full House. It's so great to see you.
You too, man.
Thank you for doing our show. You started your career because you were young, when you did Full House for the first time. I want to say you were
10
years old. I mean, you were really young then, but you started your career even younger, right? You appeared in commercials and stuff. And it seems like every actor does like some kind of crazy commercial, you know. Do you remember any of the products that you pitched?
Yeah, the first one, there was, again, I'm going to date myself saying this. There used to be a shoe store in malls called Buster Brown.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Sure.
And they were selling Care Bear shoes. So my first commercial ever was for Care Bear shoes, and it was, I had to pretend like the Care Bears were there. So that was very strange. But that one was one of the earlier ones. I did the Ed Grimley show with Martin Short.
Oh, that was so funny.
Back in the day, and did like a Siskel Ebert sketch with Joe Flaherty.
Yeah. From those are the SCTV.
Yeah.
Another brilliant show. I could go on about Dave Thomas and John Candy and everybody, those brilliant people from SCTV. So you come to us at 10 years old at Full House, and there's kids everywhere, actors on the show. Can you take us back to what you remember about being on our Full House set? Do you still have the memories? I mean,
yeah, they're pretty vivid. I like the show. I love the show, and I was nervous about it.
Had you seen it before you came on? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you'd seen it?
Because I think I was in the second season or third season, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was the same age as Jody-ish, maybe like 2 years older.
Yeah.
And so reading the sides, knowing what the character was, and then I remember the first big memory of it was that after the second callback or whatever, it was on the lot. So then they took me to the lot to get measured immediately for wardrobe and to meet Jody. And I was pretty starstruck. And I remember the table read. I remember you being, and I'm not just saying that because I'm here, but you were actually very, very nice and so funny. And yeah, it was a very warm set. That was the thing I remember. There are some sitcoms you do where you're like, this isn't for me. And I've been on
a couple of those.
Yeah,
some great ones, but that happens.
And it was. I remember the other two memories I have distinctly was that the last day, the tape day, we had
in front of the audience.
Yeah. You do school on set. So I was a kid, so I did school, and we'd logged a bunch of hours. But we still had 1 hour left to do. And I've talked to Jody about this since, but the studio teacher was like, we're just going to do home ec today. And so we're going to bake banana bread. And I remember that.
What a tough assignment. I never had an assignment like that when I was going to school.
And I just remember that being like the most romantic moment of my life then, and probably still. And
baking banana bread on the Full House set.
Yeah.
Doesn't get any better than that.
And then I remember I was so upset because I loved it there that on the drive home after the tape, I cried in my mom's van, and I was hit.
I've heard that from a lot of actors. They say, when you appeared on Full House, it felt like a big family.
Yep.
And it was certainly for us. but we always wanted to welcome guest stars in because we knew how tough it was. Because a lot of us, me, John, Bob, Lori, Candace, we'd been there and we had, gone through that. So we always, I think, made a very conscious decision to be very welcoming to guest stars. And hey, you're part of the family. You're here. We're all trying to do a great show. So I'm glad that was the impression that you walked away with.
Yeah, it was great. And I mean, I kind of got to play a bit of a character.
Yeah.
So I remember I always took my job very seriously, which is strange for a kid.
Well, you were a pro.
I guess.
That's what I guess. I remember very distinctly you were very professional, which always blew me away, especially our Full House kids, how professional they were.
Right.
I could have never done that. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could be professional now, because I goof around too much. But I remember you just being a pro. So to hear you say that.
Yeah, they would there was some guy, I forget what his position was, but he essentially was like helping me create the duck face lips. And
was it Brian Cale?
I don't remember.
We had an acting coach on set.
Sounds right. I think he had like glasses and
yes, that was Brian Cale.
Okay, yeah, he was great.
He was terrific
awesome
with the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a saint a lot of the times because it was not an easy job.
So that was fun. I remember thinking like, is this gonna play if I have this tick every time? And I just leaned into it. I was like, all right, let's go.
Can you still do it?
Of course.
You knew I was going to ask.
I mean, of course,
right?
man.
Yeah, of course.
People still ask if I can still do that.
Do people still recognize you from the show?
Which is bizarre.
Is it really? Wow.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a long time.
No, I'm, if Frodo became a pirate now, I don't look the same. It's like, yeah. So, but yeah, apparently I think it's my eyeballs are the same.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. But yeah, I'll have people at conventions or whatever want me to do the face.
The face. Mm-hmm. Is it wrong if I ask?
We can. I mean,
okay. Well, we're a visual show. We're a video cast, so people get to see it.
I'm just scared of that meme. But
okay, that's okay.
But we'll do it.
We'll do it. All right, here we go.
Whip it out.
All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See, you're not going to get that anywhere else.
That's right.
Only
That's
here
right.
on Full House Rewind. Well, thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Because people ask me, can you do Popeye or whatever?
Of course.
All the time. So,
give them what they want.
What's it like when people do recognize you? Is it a good thing? I mean, is it?
I mean, I think, in all honesty, there was a period in my life where when things that you did, my like hot period was like 10 to 15, right? And that's an incredibly weird time of life.
Yes, for any kid.
And you're going through all sorts of changes.
Yeah.
Everything's weird. I had like emotional stuff that had happened at like about a year before or somewhere in that, before I did Full House. Mm-hmm. My dad had passed away, and so it changed the course
I never
of
knew that. I never knew that. Oh.
My mom was smart in that she kept me busy.
Yeah.
But I used to kind of, when you're sort of immortalized for that period of your life.
Yeah.
It's sometimes cringe. But I have now really embraced it when I meet fans at conventions and stuff because it means so much to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
The least I can do is really be grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm forever frozen in time with a mullet.
Right.
And a bad, colorful shirt.
It's a good mullet, though.
Iconic. It was a strong mullet. I was a hockey player, so it was, it was it played into my sweet spot. So 10 to 15 is like your hot period. And
sure.
It's, it's a tough time of life, like you mentioned. And then you go to university after high school, right?
Yeah.
You go away and you study?
Yeah, I just wanted to go be normal. I told my mom, I remember last 2 years of high school, I said, I just want to play basketball, be a normal kid.
Right.
And so she was cool about it. She said, you don't have to audition. And I went to university and I looked into this this undergrad theater program. I hadn't done a ton of theater, but the idea of getting a college degree for just acting and screwing around sounded right
and
easy.
Yeah.
And it blew my brains apart. It was great. I
What do you mean? Like it was amazing?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, that was
yeah?
I didn't know anything about Shakespeare. I didn't know anything about
Right.
any of that. And that really did change a lot of the trajectory of what I do now and what I love and what it kind of, because I think even though I took acting serious as a kid and I took my job seriously, I didn't really know what it was. You know, you're hitting your mark, you're doing sort of technical things.
It's not Shakespeare.
Right. It's not that. And so
Right.
when I was introduced to that kind of stuff, it was like I fell in love with it all over again.
So speaking of falling in love with it all over again, so then you kind of make this transition back to show business, right? Was that kind of after like this, blowing your brains apart experience with
yeah.
Shakespeare and really learning about theater?
Yeah.
Was there kind of this transition back into a showbiz environment, or was it more theater based for you?
Well, I had auditioned for graduate programs after undergrad as an actor. So NYU.
Is that here in LA or where are
No,
you
it
at
was
this time?
weirdly in Utah. There was a gentleman who was from Juilliard who wanted to create a very small.
Oh, that place.
Yeah.
I've heard. Yeah.
He wanted to create a really small little, boutique conservatory for yours. And
Yeah.
so he did it in the mountains of Utah at University of Utah. And I just lucked into it because
That must have been cool.
it was very cool. And at that time, it was because of him, he'd established a thing that had a lot of mystique and cachet. And so people were, turning down NYU, kids were, to come to that program. So it was really good. And I learned, they humbled me though. The first play they put me in, I had a line.
Yeah.
And they were like, all right, film and TV kid, you're going to go through you're going to pay your dues. And so it was great because then I really had to kind of discover all of that.
Now, how dare they say that to an actor who's been on Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
Yeah.
I've never been in anything scary. Was that scary? I mean, how old were you when you did Nightmare on Elm Street?
That was, I think, just after Full House.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Is it scary going into a really scary movie like that?
I loved it.
Did you?
I mean, they had 3 warehouses. It was a huge place.
Where'd you shoot that? In LA?
It was in LA.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly where, but I do remember big warehouses. And I just loved all the effects of it. I loved the makeup. I loved seeing the table full of Freddy's gloves. Robert Englund didn't really talk to me outside of character until the rap party.
Really?
And so he was the only thing that felt a little like
full makeup, or was
sus.
he?
Yeah. And he would stare at me from across the way, and
That's got to be scary.
it was scary, but I think it was genius because it kept that tension.
Yeah.
And so that when I did have to interact with him, I didn't know.
Hi there. I want to tell you about Care Of. Care Of is a health and wellness company. They ship personalized vitamins and supplements right to your door every month. Now, I'm a simple guy and I try to listen to my body. And my body was telling me that I was tired. It sounded like this: Dave, I'm tired. And who the heck wants to hear that voice all the time? Well, one of my friends mentioned Care Of, and I decided to take their online quiz about my health goals. And being a hockey player, I like to score a lot of goals, eh? So here's what my goals were: better sleep, better energy, and a healthy heart. And I need a healthy heart if I'm going to be out there on the ice trying to score goals, eh? So my first shipment is here, okay, right? And I can't wait to get going. It's these little packets. Look, it even says Hi Dave on there. So let's do it together. What do you say? So for 50% off your first Care Of subscription order, go to takecareof.com and enter code FULLHOUSE50. That's right. For 50% off your first Care Of subscription order, go to takecareof.com and enter FULLHOUSE50. Let's do it together. And, we'll both score a lot of goals, eh? And you've been in some big movies, Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that was there was that, and then I did this kind of apocryphal Christmas story movie sequel.
Yeah.
With Kieran Culkin and Charles Grodin and stuff, but it's kind of it's in the shadows. Nobody knows it.
I got to hear about Jurassic Park. What was that like? What was your experience like?
Again, I mean,
because when I saw that movie
Yeah.
and the CG that they did for
it
that,
still holds up.
I freaked out.
It's insane.
And I think everybody did. I think
insane.
when we saw those dinosaurs, all of a sudden we just went, are you kidding me?
Sure.
Yeah.
My mom had read the book, and in the book, the kids' ages are different. So the boy is older, which would have been how old I was,
right?
Roughly. And so I thought I was going in for that, but I wasn't. And so the audition was simply the casting director read some dinosaur story, and I just had to react. And my freaky, weird face just, they liked it. And it was a killer set. I mean, Steven, for the 2 days I was there, he's kind of everything you want him to be.
Right.
He's so normal. Laura Dern was amazing. She was asking, what are you listening to on your Discman? And I was like,
Discman.
Yeah, and I was like, I was 14, so I was too cool.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
you're a hipster at this point. You got a Discman going, you're rocking it out. It sounds like you'd be perfect to go to cons, because we went, me and Jody Sweeten just did the 90s con in Hartford. And I mean, have you gone to any of those?
Yeah, I do a ton of those.
Do you?
Yeah, and I didn't for a while.
For which, I mean, if you've done all this stuff, like for which one do they kind of go, oh, you'd be perfect for?
Well, sometimes there's very specific horror cons.
Yeah.
Which are great and again, very specific.
Yeah.
And the fans are very interesting and lovely.
That's a great word.
Yeah, they're great.
Yep. Yeah.
But I always think it's fascinating that they're quite emotional and sentimental about Freddy Krueger. You know what I mean? Like they have like a heartstring towards Freddy Krueger, that's kind of interesting.
It's like being in love with one of those guys in prison, you know? Like those women who are like, oh, I love him so much. We got married.
Totally.
He's
Who are you talking about?
Life,
Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so sometimes it's just a complete, all of the things, you know, a big kind of cornucopia.
I love them because, at first I didn't know if I was going to really enjoy the experience of meeting fans, Full House, and, what's it going to be like? And then me and John Stamos and Bob Saget did I think it was like MegaCon it was called in Florida, in Orlando. And we loved it. We loved being there with the fans. We loved meeting all the Full House people. I'll tell you who's really passionate are the Ghostbusters folks.
Oh, really?
Oh, my gosh. Because I was Peter Venkman on the Real Ghostbusters cartoon.
Oh, that's right.
So those peeps, man, they come with the proton packs and
the animation ones are really, those are very fun. I did Clone Wars and Tiny Toons, and I had a pretty decent voiceover career for a while.
Yeah.
It's all sorts of different things.
You've worn a lot of hats in
and
show business.
Today.
Yeah, and you're wearing a hat today.
Today.
That's just one of your many hats. I mean, but writing, directing, producing, you dabble in a lot of stuff, right? You keep a lot of, like the old Ed Sullivan show, you keep a lot of plate spinning, voiceovers.
You got to keep evolving, and I feel like I finally got into a grad school program in my late 30s in London.
Yeah.
And it was for directing. And so I really got inspired by seeing stuff in London, stuff in Berlin, Amsterdam. There was a part of the course that we studied in Moscow. And so I did all of that and still do, and run a theater company here in LA that is my baby, and I love it. It's called Riot Act.
A lot of plates spinning in the air for sure. And you've done a lot of voiceovers. Any favorites come to mind? Because I love doing voiceovers.
Clone Wars was kind of a biggie for a Star Wars nerd. That when you get that manila envelope and the letterhead says, Whit, now that you're part of the Star Wars family, and you're like, that seems not real.
Yeah.
So that one was great. Hilariously, though, I hadn't really, this was pre-London, and so they had me do a dialect on that show, and it was bad. and I now like hear it back, and I'm like, ugh, that's not good.
Do over, please. Do over. Is it the Shortcut Theater? Is that what?
No, this is called Riot Act.
Oh, Riot Act.
Yeah,
where did I get Shortcut Theater?
I think it was that for like a hot second.
Oh, okay.
Like two shows.
So this is Riot Act.
Riot Act, yeah.
Okay.
Which I started in school. I was one of the older directing students, and my mentor, who I love, a guy named Steve Unwin, he's a giant in the London theater circuit for decades. And he sort of encouraged me that after class that I needed to continue to hustle and go into central London and put on stuff, do pragmatic work, because the course didn't really have a ton of that. And so I did. And so we did about 12 plays in 2 years.
12 in 2 years?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I've never been in a play.
Yeah, I love it. It's a drug. I mean, because there's no stopping.
I went to Broadway. I saw John Stamos in
Did you do How to Succeed?
How to Succeed in
Yeah,
Business. He was also in Cabaret.
Cabaret, that's right.
Yeah, he was in Cabaret.
Brilliant.
And I mean, he was unbelievable. And then I saw Saget in another off-Broadway production, and he was great. And they're like, "Oh, you should do it." And I was like, "I don't think I could do it. I just don't think I have the chops to."
I mean, you did stand-up, though. It's
I
probably
did
not
stand-up,
too
lots of stand-up.
far
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
far off from that. But yeah, no, it was great. And it, you know, I saw things that like in London, a thing they do a lot are these adaptations. And I had never really been exposed to Shakespeare done in such a radical way.
Yeah.
And it felt very relevant, and it felt like it was not an archaic art form. It felt like a punk rock concert. And when you go to these pub theaters or French theaters that are off the beaten path, but you're seeing great stuff, and you're seeing it for $10. I mean, I saw Ray Fiennes do Richard III for 10 quid, and it's like amazing.
Speaking of punk rock concerts, someone told me you played the drums?
I do play
You're a drummer?
Yeah.
I think you and I share a favorite drummer, Keith Moon.
Love Keith Moon.
Keith Moon. I'm a big Who fan.
Yeah, he was a maniac.
Quadrophenia, I think, is
Yeah.
probably my favorite album ever. But I was a big fan of Neil Peart from Rush.
Yep.
Amazing drummer. You know who else is pretty amazing is Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters.
Totally.
I mean,
I was a big Copeland fan, Stuart Copeland.
Stuart Copeland.
And there's this one drummer currently that's in this British punk band called Bad Nerves. They're my obsession.
Yeah.
He's the fastest drummer I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just so fast.
I saw Buddy Rich
No.
at the Comedy Store.
No.
At the Comedy Store main room years ago.
Okay.
And he was incredible.
That'd be insane.
Yeah, because I'd seen him on the show, and I was like, "Oh, Buddy Rich is going to be here," and I was doing stand up there at the time, so like, "Oh, I'm going to sneak in and see Buddy." He was everything that I believed a drummer could be. He was just incredible.
Yeah.
Like the speed, the dexterity, he didn't miss.
You know who I really love, and I've done a lot of research on him because he is a very complicated character, was Gene Krupa.
Gene Krupa. Yeah.
Interesting life. I'm surprised there hasn't been a movie about that.
Yeah. Man, he was great. Another drummer I saw was Billy Cobham.
Amazing.
Amazing. I saw him in Detroit.
Yeah.
And he was doing jazz stuff there. I forget with who, but I saw him and I was just blown away.
Yeah.
And then, Stamos is a drummer. So, I've talked drummers, but I think my favorite is probably Keith Moon.
I only had lessons for like a year. So I got, and my mom was smart this way. She bought me a drum at a time. So I got a snare drum for Christmas one time around Full House.
They always say never buy a kid a drum.
Yeah.
Or drum set.
But I needed it. I needed to beat the heck out of something. I needed something at that point in my life.
Yeah.
And I played that one drum like a full kit.
Right.
And then she got me a hi-hat. And then I think Full House, weirdly, now that I'm thinking, like, that was the gig that my mom was like, let's get you a full kit. So, like,
You could be the next John Stamos playing with the Beach Boys.
Totally.
Do you compose music? Do you write music and stuff? Or
It's my C game.
Yeah?
Like,
Yeah.
I love playing, but
Yeah.
I've had good enough friends. I always think that it's really important that you have people around in your life that are your checks and balances that will tell you when your pipe dream is just that. And so, like, I've been in bands where they're like, Whit, it comes from your soul, but you're technically crap. And so, I had to figure out that, like, acting or directing and playwriting was my A game, and I found that late in life. But yeah, drumming's probably my C
Man,
game.
you are a busy guy and so rounded. I could just talk to you forever. Can I get you to come back on one of your episodes where you were on? Can we get you to come back?
100%.
I would love that.
100%.
I would
Yeah.
love that. Can we play a little game?
Let's do it.
You up for that?
Yep.
All right, here we go. John Stamos dresses up and sings like Elvis Presley in this episode and does an Elvis tribute. So this game is called The King of Rock and Roll. How fitting for a musical guy. I'm going to ask you some questions about Elvis. We're going to see how many you get correct. You know what, though? You cannot lose at this game.
Okay.
You're going to win. You're going to win, so you can't even guess a wrong answer.
Okay.
We don't accept it. All right, ready? Here's question one. Elvis often used the letters TCB to describe the rhythm section of his band. Did those letters stand for the Country Boys, the Catfish Brothers, or Taking Care of Business?
C.
Taking Care of Business. Ding, 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 ding. See, you're already a winner, Whit. All right, here we go. Question number 2. Elvis starred in 31 movies. Was his first movie titled Little Baby Mama, Hard-Headed Woman, or Love Me Tender?
Oof. This is legit going to be just a Hail Mary. I'm going to say the second one.
Oh, but you know what? You're still going to win the game. You're still going to win the game. It was Love Me Tender in 1956. You're still winning.
All right, cool.
You're still
I'm 1 for 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Elvis also had a twin brother who died at birth.
No.
Was his name Danny, Joey, or Jesse?
I want to say it's Joey because I feel like that's going to be tied in.
Want to pick another one?
The first one?
That begins with a J?
Jesse?
Jesse, yes. See, you can't lose on this. You cannot lose this game. Okay, here we go. What was Elvis' favorite sandwich? Was it ham and cheese, Fritos smashed on a bologna sandwich, or peanut butter and banana?
I would love to try Fritos and bologna, but it's the last one. It's bananas.
Ding, 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 ding. See, peanut butter and banana. You're killing it. Here we go. Here's question number 5, our final question. Which of the following did Elvis earn in 1960? A master's in psychology, a commercial pilot rating, or a black belt in karate?
He was a black belt in karate.
Ding, 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 ding. See, you end a winner.
So is that where all of the
everyone is a winner.
Like that stuff where he would do those moves? That's where that comes from?
Yes, he would do karate. Everyone's a winner here. Okay. Here we go. I've got something for you right down here. And it is a Mr. Woodchuck shirt. Got wood? He's asking.
Incredible.
So here we go. Thank you. Thank you, Whit. Now there is, see, I told you were going to win. See? Told you. Now,
incredible.
Of course, every episode of Full House had a very heartfelt, touching scene. We have cut out a scene from episode 21 that we're going to read together. Cut it out. Okay, here we go. Now let's cue the music. Aw, there we go. Puts us in the mood. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was good advice you gave, Jess.
Thanks. I thought yours was great too.
I think we really helped him.
Well, yeah, it's because we make a great team.
I guess that's why we've stayed friends for 19 years, 4 months, and 3 days, because, maybe I'm a little square.
No, I'm a little goofy.
Hey, you know what? Between the two of us, we make one hell of a guy.
That makes sense. We've always been there for each other. I mean, you were there when I needed that $800.
And you were there when I needed to have somebody help me to take care of my kids. And I can never repay you for that.
Well, you never need to. Danny, look, a debt is a debt. And I just want to clear ours up. So please, just take the money.
Okay. Thank you. But I'm buying you a savings bond and a closet organizer. And the scene ends, and man, if that does not bring a tear to my eye with another tear in this eye, because we have to say goodbye to Whit Hertford. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to that thunderous applause. The thousands are going crazy. Here's some of my thoughts about episode 21. In this episode, we see Bob Perlow as the MC in the nightclub where Jesse's performing. Now, Bob Perlow was our audience warm-up comic. Shows that are shot in front of a live studio audience like Full House, well, they usually have a comic who entertains the audience in between takes and recaps what's happening from scene to scene. Bob Perlow was our audience warm-up. It is one of the most challenging and important jobs in the sitcom world. For 3 to 4 hours, the warm-up comic keeps the audience on their toes. so that the actors can hear their laughs and reactions throughout each scene. Bob was the best at audience warm-up, and he did several sitcom warm-ups throughout his career. Early in his career, Bob Saget was also an audience warm-up for a show called Bosom Buddies. Jeff Franklin saw Bob doing warm-up and told him, "You're too funny to be doing warm-up. Someday I'm going to put you in a show." And the rest is TV history. Jeff was he was very special that way. He was always lifting us up. And I think his attitude toward the business and this show is what gave it its magic. We felt, I guess you could say, taken care of. We felt loved. John Stamos had an obsession with Elvis from the moment I met him. So did Jeff Franklin. And that's why so many Elvis bits ended up on Full House. In the nightclub scene, Jeff and John's real-life moms, Carol and Loretta, are sitting together at a table. They must have been thrilled knowing that their two sons had cooked up this Elvis tribute, and it was all on network television for millions of people to see. I had several scenes with Bob Saget in this episode where we talk about the ups and downs of our friendship. Though I never borrowed money from Bob, this episode was definitely art imitating life. Again, very emotional for me to watch this episode for the very first time. But I am so happy that I get to relive the memory of this moment where I got to act and be funny with my brother Bob in a show that we both loved. We'd like to hear your thoughts about Full House, so why don't you tell us about your favorite episode or just why you love the show so much? Or maybe you got a question for me. Send us an email with the link at socials@podco.us. We close every episode of Full House Rewind by giving all of you who need it a hug. This week, our hug goes out to all of you who feel like you need someone to look out for you. You know, to feel like someone is thinking about you. Doing this show makes me think about you guys every time. So for all of you who need it, here's your Full House hug from me. Ready? Bring it in. Come on, there we go. Okay, that's our show. We'd like to thank our special guest, Whit Hertford, for stopping by. Join us next time here on Full House Rewind. And you can watch all of our episodes on our Full House Rewind YouTube channel. So long, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Full House Rewind. We'll see you next week.